It's not an epidemic. It's been around for years and years and years. What has changed is the way that we're much more aware of it. And unfortunately, the number of kids who've been picked on and bullied have taken their own lives. It's kind of get thrown into bullying, and so it's often referred to as bullycide. And suicide and bullying really are two very different things.
Right.
But because that sells newspapers and it sells media, it seems to play more so. But it's been around for a very long time, and usually it's based on two extremes. And ever since April of 1999, with the Columbine massacre, we kind of raised our awareness in terms of what bullying is all about. And once the victims decided to stand up and say, either you do something, if you don't, we're going to do something about it, we decided that maybe we should intervene as adults and not let kids carry weapons around anymore.
What would you say?
In terms of being targeted, the numbers work in terms of nationally, 85% for the most part we call bystanders. All right? 10% are usually the ones who are targeted, 5% are usually the ones who are identified as the primary bullying and bullying behavior.
So what do we need to do as parents?
Well, part of it is an education. Is most people don't know what it really means, the definition of bullying. There's a lot of different definitions out there. A kid comes home, they weren't treated nice, my parent complains, my kid's being bullied. Or they're on the soccer field and kids aren't being nice. Bullying basically bullying is an imbalance of power. It's repeated over the course of time, and it's aggressive in nature. And that sense of bullying, that's always in school. It can also be done at home between siblings. And there is that sense of boundary, and part of it is helping kids understand how to stand up for themselves, advocate. The other big piece is helping bystanders become upstanders.
Yeah.
And that is something I think we happens far too often in terms of being adults. We just stand by and watch things happen. How do you stand up? They know right from wrong, especially kids in middle school and high school. You know, what's it going to take for you to stand up? That 85%. The other thing is the importance to partner with the schools and the school systems. And that bullying is not just a school issue, it is a community issue. And to make sure that everybody involved in the community, schools, churches, and organizations are all part of the learning process. Friendly, maybe, but certainly not friends.
Never?
A parent is a parent. I tell my kids all the time, I will forever be your parent.
What does that
Parent
mean?
first. That I have a responsibility in terms of their livelihood, their role, my values, and I will always be their parent first. That ultimately over the course of time, as you get older and our relationship evolves, will change, but I'm forever going to be your parent. My son, and I know the fact he doesn't want me to be his friend, is he jokes with me, talk about swag. My son walks around the house, he's 15, he's got swag. I'm like, I have swag too, and he's like, no, Dad.
No, you don't have
no
swag.
swag. You just don't have it. And so it's clear to him that I'm not his friend, and that he wants me to be something else in terms of being. Now, he doesn't like it when I'm his parent, he does something wrong, and there's consequences, or as my daughter, but ultimately, we talk about how valuable and how wonderful he is, and ultimately, maybe at some point in life, we work together, but I'm parent first, and that's the most important thing.
What about the actual sex talk?
Well, I know a lot of middle school kids today are talking exclusively about some of the great things about sex, in particular oral, things like that. And so in middle school, I often answer the question, don't offer commentary. The big time sex talks come 7th, 8th, 9th grade, but I think it's very important to really sit down and have a very serious open conversation in terms of what it is, what it's about, because then I think in terms of the adolescence and pre-adolescence, that's partly what happens in the school systems is kids get the sex ed classes usually right around middle school, 5th, 6th, 7th grade.
Right,
Which is late.
Which is, for some, late.
Right.
For others, I want to make sure that my values, and so I don't know what's being done in the school system, and I think it's okay, but the intimacy and the acts are very important as far as, can you put on a condom? What do you know about it?
That's right.
No means no, and I want to make sure in this day and age, oral sex is sex.
Yeah.
It's on TV, it's on their cell phones, it's on Hulu, the access is right there in their face. 40,000 or 25,000 messages, usually stimulating in terms of what we see on a regular basis, how you're supposed to look, how you're supposed to act, and they're getting hit with that. And if we don't, as parents, step up and find a way to help communicate in such a way, then they're going to learn it somewhere, and often it's going to happen sometimes in an inappropriate way. One thing that there's a lot of irony involved in terms of parents who are executives in their companies, and they'll claim that their 20-somethings or their teens are entitled, and yet at home, their own kids, they'll make sure they got the next best and everything else.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And they'll put them, the parents got them in ballet, and they got them in soccer, and they got them all, they got all their private coaches. They keep telling these kids how wonderful and great they are, and how they're not going to do anything wrong, and you can be all this special great. And then what would you expect when they get off out of college? Of course, they're wonderful and great. So by the time they get into the workforce, Why wouldn't they be wonderful and great? Why wouldn't they be entitled? Because
Yeah.
we've created that situation.
Yeah.
And that's based on parenting styles and different generational pieces in terms of trying to protect our kids and make sure they're wonderful and special.